I'm Celine, I'm an addictive eater. Thank you for asking me. It's a privilege to be here. And I was thinking today, what have I got to share that's different? I mean, I only have one story, but I don't know why I've been thinking about it lately, but I remember when I first came into the program, I went in a kind of a curved way to get here because I went to a health professional who suggested I go to AA, went there and then came here. But there was a lot of people mentioned the fatal nature of the disease in those days. And I thought we do talk about the solution that we have here. And I am thinking, and what was it that made me want to come and stay? The eating and all of the other things that go along with the disease. For me, I wasn't one of these people that was able to function in other parts of my life very well. I was not functioning at all well in every area of my life. And in fact, I felt that the food was a problem, but it was second or third down the list to other problems. One of the first problems for me was the way I treated my children, who I loved, and I had values around not smacking children and the way that you speak to the children, what was appropriate and not. And I would be going to bed at night chastising myself for the words that I said and the smacking of my children because I didn't believe in that. And then there was lots of other things. I thought it was my family of origin was the reason the way I was. I knew I loved my husband. We'd been married for 13 years when I came here. And he had told me that I needed to leave. And he said, if you try and take the children, I will go to court and tell them what you are like. And I knew that if that was told to the court, he would get the care of my kids and I wouldn't. And I, so many times, would lie awake in bed at night and think, this is how I'm going to be when I get up in the morning. You know, I'm going to do this, and this. And I would do some of those things, take my kids, read books to them, do the stuff you do for kids. But this disease was just raging in me mentally and physically, and I didn't like being interrupted in that. I was eating, I was living a fantasy life, and I wasn't in a fit state to be. I wasn't a whole person while this disease is raging in me. The wonderful thing of going to that health professional, and it was sensible because I remember saying to someone I needed to go to someone, and I said, not any counsellor, it has to be someone that knows something about addiction. I wasn't thinking about me, I was thinking about my family. And he picked it up straight away. And I actually know now, because I've seen him in meetings, that he's a member of this fellowship. And he said, there's people around like you that don't struggle. And I was really attracted to that. And I didn't think I could have that. But the fatal nature of the disease, I kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And as bad as I was when I thought that I really needed help, I got worse than that. And I even came here for about 3 meetings or so, and maybe 2. I even remember the people that shared that night that I was critical of. They were sitting in the room tonight because I thought, oh, for God's sake, all of that sort of stuff. I'm not that bad and get a life. This is me who doesn't have a life saying that. But it was just all to justify for myself that I didn't need it, because I hear that about the disease as well. It'll tell you don't have it. And thankfully, I didn't say those things, but also thankfully those people were patient and kind to me and were there when I went away, tried to fix the food problem myself. And I was always an overeater, never huge, never a huge size. And I know that's probably because I've got inflammatory bowel disease. Like, you're not going to get massive. But when I went away, I became anorexic. I couldn't stop starving, and I never experienced that before. And even then, when I came back and tried, it still took me 3 years to put down the food. I think it was about 3 years, because I still had these old ideas. Still, I'll hide it. I was embarrassed about it and ashamed and didn't want other people to know, and even though I knew I needed it. And yeah, it got to the point at one stage where I just thought, nobody has to live in my head but me, and I needed to be honest about it. And I rang people, I told people, and especially when I was going to stay with someone, I'd ring and say, this is what I do, is that going to be okay with you? Because I was terrified that when I would go to these places that I'd want to hide it. And I remember saying in meetings and sharing, I hope that was the last time, but I don't know if it is, because I never stopped craving for about 3 years when I came here. And what I loved about that is because I would say that to people, my sponsor and my sponsor's sponsor and other people, and they would say, do you want to eat? And I said no. I would say, no, I don't want. And when I say eat, that's addictively eat. I have to have fuel, which is guided by my sponsor, but no, I don't, but I can't. I'm just craving all the time. And they would always say the same thing. Get your head on the pillow. You just get your head, you just the first thing in front of you. And just this minute, just this whatever second, and do something for someone else was always a good one. And the head on the pillow, and there's so many times that I would say to myself, I'm going to eat, I'm going to have this tomorrow and that tomorrow. But getting my head on the pillow, I was always different the next day. And so I still wouldn't say, is it the last time? I think it is, but I've got an addiction. And that's why I need to have it treated on a daily basis, because I'm not cured of it. It is a fatal disease. I know it is for me. I don't want to be doing that. And I don't want to be living like that and harming other people, because it wasn't just my immediate family, it was the bigger family and stuff. And plus I was just not a contributing member of the family. I was a couch potato sitting there watching TV and spending money on myself. These days I know that. I know fundamentally that I don't want to eat. Like, that desire to eat did go away. I can't tell you when that was, but all of a sudden one day I was just like, oh, I haven't had that craving. I just haven't. And every little fear I had, they've all gone. I think most people know this, but for 10 years of being here, I was terrified to read. How we have readings, I was terrified to read. And I knew that you didn't have to read, but I knew that if I said no once, I'd say no every time. And so I'd be reading and I'd be quivering and just terrified and mortified. And all of a sudden it's fine to read. I can read in front of 1,000 people and it's no problem. But that's just the disease that centres in my mind that tells me you're going to get it wrong, or whatever it tells me. So for me, I just get given everything I need. I don't want the food, but every other thing I need is given to me. I know how to behave. I've got a sponsor and I've got all of you who guide me with my treatment, and I have a really, really good life. I love my life, and I'm not behaving like that either. And I always like to share about some little thing. I don't even know what it is today, what the little thing is that I love. Possibly going out into the garden today and picking fruit off the tree and vegetables out of my own garden that's on my food plan for dinner tonight. There's some simple pleasures in going out into your garden and enjoying your garden, seeing the dahlias in flower on a beautiful day, getting the washing dry, just simple pleasures that I love because I couldn't enjoy those things before. I just see life really differently. So I'll keep coming. Thank you.